Welcome back to the Boardman Black and Gold podcast. It's been a couple of weeks, but we finally have another outside perspective episode, and this was one that I've been planning out for quite literally almost an entire year. The moment I saw the schedule release and I saw the Detroit Lions on the Steelers schedule, I knew the exact moments that I had to get my favorite Detroit sports fan on the podcast. I'm joined by Ben Ockerman, and again, he is my favorite Detroit sports fan in the entire world. Ben, just introduce yourself for me for a second. Give me the context as to why you're a Detroit sports fan, and, give me a little bit about yourself.
Yes, man, let's go. First off, I am pumped to be here, dude. This is awesome. I love talking ball. I love talking Detroit, so this is sweet. So, man, grew up Metro Detroit, right outside of the D. So I was raised this way, and as everybody knows, I've had some trials and tribulations, as being a Detroit sports fan, right? I mean, we all have, of course, but I was alive through the 0-16 year in '08. But I was also my prime of watching the Lions was Stafford, Megatron, and I'm thankful for all that, man. It's been a beautiful journey. Obviously, the I can't say dynasty, definitely not a dynasty, but the resurgence of the Lions, has been fun the last 4 years or so. But yeah, I don't want to get too off track because I can talk for forever. But yeah, man, grew up in Detroit. Father raised me as a Lions fan, and hey, man, I'm thankful. I'm happy to be here. It's kind of the story, man.
Well, that's awesome. And before we talk football for a second, I want to talk about something that's, maybe just a little bit bigger than football. This weekend, your juggernaut fantasy football team got bumped in the first round of the playoffs. Your Detroit Lions got bludgeoned by the Los Angeles Rams. But you performed an absolute masterclass in joy mitigation and decided, I'm going to propose and get engaged this weekend. So my first off, I just want to say congratulations over the air. But second off, what does that do for your joy as far as your sports psyche goes? Because as far as things go, you kind of had a rough weekend outside of that.
That was hilarious, man. That you just dropped that bomb on me. No, that's true, man. It was so yeah, man. First off, thank you very much. I'm super pumped. I did propose to my girlfriend, now fiance, so that's pretty exciting. That was Friday, and going into the weekend, I was texting the boys. I was like, "Yo, guys, you can't ruin my weekend. I can't lose fantasy, man. Because, dude, I have been a top seed. I mean, I'm proud of my team. I was so ready for this year or this playoffs. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I did get bounced. That was pretty heartbreaking. And you know who actually did it was DK Metcalf signed. He really just freaking signed off on that one. I remember I fell asleep, woke up, checked it, and I was like, he scored. Of course he did. Um, but yeah, man, it was a great weekend. I did get bounced first round. And yes, the Rams game was, I'm sure we'll get more into that, but that was something a fun game to watch. But I know Matthew Stafford better than most people probably do. And I can't say I was too surprised, especially with the state of our secondary. Again, we'll get more into that later, I'm sure. But yeah, it was a pretty eventful weekend. Very thankful for it all. But yeah, you're absolutely right, man. It was a wild ride.
Well, I think you kind of started to allude to it, and that's kind of the first place I wanted to start as far as the Lions are actually concerned, because if you just look at the comparisons between their offensive production and their defensive production, the defense seems like it's the only thing that's holding the Lions back this season. They're 8-6, but they've given up 27 points in each of their last 4 games, and that number continues to rise, it seems like. So what are the issues defensively for this Lions team?
Yeah, man. I was thinking about that earlier. I think about it all the time, obviously, but it's unbelievable. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the Lions have scored the most points for.
Yes, you're correct. You're correct.
I think they've literally I mean, I'm not gonna based off the numbers, sure you could say number one offense. I'm not necessarily saying that, but obviously a very hot offense, right? So it's extremely fun and awesome, but you're absolutely right, dude. And I feel like it's been a repeating kind of problem is just the defense of the Detroit Lions, right? I mean, I can't remember a time where the Lions had a lockdown defense. But, I'd like to say, obviously, I could make excuses as to why the team, but I mean, to me, it's kind of the elephant in the room, or at least in my head, is just the Brian Branch injury, right? I'm sure you saw he tore his Achilles before he didn't play in the Rams game. So yeah, before that, game before that, and that was a blow, but also kind of like yeah. I don't know what it is, man, but like, so Kirby Joseph, great star safety. He gets hurt. Some sort of bone bruise or something. You might know more on that than me. Some sort of bone bruise that I even heard rumors of career ending. I'm sure you saw that. Yeah, yeah. So I heard rumors of career ending because it could be something. I don't know. I haven't looked too far into it because I'm kind of in a state of just discouraged. You know what I mean? So rather than me being like, all right, well, if we get Kirby Joseph back, if we get Brian Branch back, well, whatever, do we have it? I'm more just like, dude, I mean, I feel like I've been beat in the face, I mean, we all have to an extent with our sports teams, but again, don't want to ramble on too long. Yes, I would say the injury bug has been unreal last year and this year, especially on defense. We've had little offensive things here. I mean, Sam Laporta's on the IR. We had Brock Wright, who's decent blocker, good pass catcher. He's on the IR as well, I believe, or at least definitely missing time. So that little offensive bump. But defensively, yeah, our secondary is torn up. Not saying we'd be a top defense in the league if they were perfectly healthy, but I mean, we would compete very well. I mean, last year we lost 2 games with mostly with still injuries, but mostly healthy defense. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm gonna blame mostly injuries for the defensive aspect. I mean, I'm sure you remember the Tampa Bay Bucks game. That was pretty miraculous because we had the Legion of Whom people are calling it. It was hilarious. Every time somebody make a tackle, be like, dude, who is that? Like I mean, I know the Lions pretty well. I mean, yeah, I've been maybe a little bit out of the game, working and proposing and everything like that, but um, that game was crazy because you're seeing guys making tackles that you've never seen before. So, we're researching on our phone where'd that guy come from, where'd that guy come from. And we won that game, and that was awesome, unbelievable. But for the sake of time, I won't ramble on too much. But yes, to answer your question, offense, super fun. Defense, super fun when healthy. Very discouraging because with a schedule like the Lions this year, you don't really get away with much, especially with how the NFC North is in our schedule. I mean, I believe we had one of the hardest schedules in the league this year. So, yeah, definitely been a journey for sure.
Now, kind of staying on the topic of the defense for a second, I don't know if this is just my insolence, but I feel like I haven't seen nearly as much of Aiden Hutchinson as I did in years past. Obviously, last year he was hurt for most of the year, but is that something that's concerning to you? I mean, maybe I'm just uninformed. Maybe that's kind of the deal. But what has his impact been? Even while he has been healthy this season.
Amazing point. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not crazy then, So yeah, last year I believe he led the league in pressure or something like that. He had 3 sacks, I think 3 sacks against Dallas, and then he snapped his leg, and it was out, from week 5 on, I believe. And yeah, so obviously, playing at like a defensive player of the year pace, I guess you could say, going to getting hurt was a big blow. And then you're absolutely right. This year, it's been a little bit of a, especially I would say, with the Detroit sports community, I guess, it's been a little bit more of a topic as of late. Kind of like, all right, everybody, am I crazy or is Hutch not Hutch? Like is something, but we don't hear about the pressures as much. I mean, I watch every game and I don't see him pressure the quarterback, and I don't see him getting to the quarterback. I mean, I see a lot of if he had one more second or like oh the quarterback got away, made a good play, whatever. You could say that about anybody. Yeah, he has been a topic of discussion. Like, that's not what we'd love to see. However, gotta shout out the interception that last game against Los Angeles. That was pretty. That was pretty fun. That was really cool. So he's definitely got the athleticism and quickness and everything like that. But to your point, 100% has not been as much of a key factor as I think most of Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like it's a little bit of TJ Watt syndrome because this year has definitely been a down year for him, and he's not going to play in this game. I can't imagine with the stuff that's going on with his lung. But I did kind of wonder that, and I didn't want to make any assertions myself because I'm kind of just an outside watcher. I watch the Lions when they're on, if they're in prime time, and occasionally I'll tune in if it's a game that makes sense for me to watch. But I kind of noticed that too. The buzz around the NFL wasn't nearly as much as it used to be around Aiden Hutchinson. So I just wanted to kind of verify that and make sure that I wasn't even, making that assertion that wasn't true or not. So the defense is what it is. Maybe Aiden Hutchinson is not quite the entirety of what we expect him to be. Obviously, the injuries are a big part of things, but you did mention, and you were correct in mentioning that the Lions offense is number one in the league in points per game. And I mean, I just look across at the talent on this offense. Jared Goff is Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown. He knocked me in a different fantasy league that I was in this year. I mean, this offense seems unstoppable. And I don't see a scenario in which they score less than 30 points against the Steelers this week. Is that something that is kind of in your mind that is true, or what do you think about this offense coming against a Steelers defense that's been on the rise at least just a little bit?
Yeah, no, great question. So I believe Dan Campbell, the man, said it a couple weeks ago. It was to beat Kansas City, I believe, and he said, we're gonna have to score 30 points to win, and that the reason I bring that up is that's kind of my thought process is we obviously can't trust our defense. That's not a crazy thing to say. I see it more. I mean, I'm sure if you looked at the total over under for this game, I want to say maybe I saw it at like 51 or something. Maybe it was more. I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't even look. But yeah. My point is we have to rely on our offense heavy, and so it's a beautiful thing when they're doing well. However, I think we both know Jared Goff isn't necessarily a freak athlete, right? I mean, he's very accurate. I like his decision making for the most part, and I love him. I mean, he's brought us a ton of success in Detroit. However, when Jared gets pressured and, maybe he turns the ball over, sometimes I see him, bouncing back really well. When he turns the ball over or he's getting balls batted or he's getting pressured and he gets those happy feet going a little bit, that's when I start to kind of get, okay, we might be in trouble. Because if my quarterback can't facilitate and make plays, obviously that's going to be an issue. So, I saw that week one against the Packers when Parsons, all this hype around Parsons and heal up, by the way, shout out Parsons. We hate to see that. But yeah, I mean, quarterback Jared Goff gets pressured. He gets a little panicked sometimes. I love Jared Goff, but this isn't crazy rocket science, right? That is one thing I'm a little worried about when it comes to the Steelers defense. I can't say I'm a Steelers expert, and I've been watching every Steelers game, so I can't say, who I think is going to be a threat and what pressure rate and blah, blah, blah. You definitely know more on that than me, but yes, if that defensive line is pressuring Jared Goff, our offensive line used to be dominating. Some weeks now, it's like Jared Goff has no time. I'm probably, rambling on too much, but yes, the defense does scare me. If we can get a lead early and we can stay in a routine of scoring, which, again, I trust my guys. I mean, we're at home. I trust them to make plays. We're inside. That's helpful. I definitely trust the offense. But yes, back to my first point, I would say we've got to score, 30-plus points to get this job done because Aaron Rodgers has not been playing bad by any means, and that offense gets buzzing too. I've seen Kenneth Gainwell's doing pretty solid too. He's like another receiver back there. So a lot of factors for sure. I am happy about the offense. I feel very confident in the offense. We will need to score a lot of points. I hope that kind of answers your question. I don't need to ramble on too much.
No, absolutely. I think that's a good perspective. And, you mentioned Aaron Rodgers and, just doing a little quick research before we got on. Rodgers is 18-8 against the Lions over the course of his time, and he's 8-5 in Detroit. And obviously, he's kind of had some ownership over the NFC North, over this time with the Packers. But this is the Steelers version, and I think you're absolutely right in the fact that he's been playing a lot better recently. it hasn't been a lot of the explosive, let's chuck it 30 yards deep to DK Metcalf. This last week against the Dolphins, it was much more just dink and dunk. Let's throw behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, heck, Kenneth Gainwell had 7 catches. I think he's been our leading receiver the last 2 weeks. So this is a different looking offense, but one that most definitely possessed the ball this last week. And I guess my next question as far as the Lions offense goes is the game plan to just run Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and just possess the ball the entire time? Or is it going to be a little bit more pass heavy to where, we're going to pick on some of these adolescent Steelers corners, see what the secondary does against Amon-Ra and Jamison Williams specifically?
So, to your first point, Aaron, I didn't even think too much about that. Zane, Aaron Rodgers has owned me forever, pretty much. I mean, I remember watching the game when he hucked it up. Like, I don't remember the score. Time expiring, he did an Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary. I don't know who came down with it, but a Packer came down with it and we lost. And that was the first time. Obviously I'm a young dude. I'm living through my dad's emotions. So I'm like, dude, like my heart was broken. So from then on, I hate is a strong word, but I very strongly dislike Aaron Rodgers for those reasons, right? But yeah, when it comes to the offensive scheme, I mean, I'm no head coach, but I would say you've got to activate Jahmyr Gibbs in order to have success against a solid 8-6 Steelers team. I saw a stat the other day. I think the Lions might be like 0-6 in games that Jahmyr Gibbs hasn't scored. Are you familiar? I don't know if that's true or not, but I saw something that said, when Jahmyr Gibbs is playing well and he's scoring, our success rate goes dramatically up, right? So yes, have to activate the running backs. I still love that duo. Jahmyr Gibbs got kind of stuffed last week. I mean, against the Rams, I love him as like a kind of receiving back. He's very, obviously, I can talk about him all day. Very quick, very athletic, very shifty, and it's so fun to watch. But yeah, I think that there's a common theme with Jahmyr Gibbs playing well and the Lions winning, right? Now, I don't want to speak too much because I got to be completely transparent. I'm not super familiar with the Steelers like defense. So, I mean, I've known the Steelers to always have a pretty solid defense. This year, I've watched some games here and there, but I'm definitely not confident that we can just slice and dice all day long. I mean, I trust our guys, and I mean, Dan Campbell's been play calling, and I trust him to make good decisions. Right? He'd do better than me, but yeah, I mean, I'd say the key would be simple and plain: activate Jahmyr Gibbs, because when all else fails, I mean, even you'll see it, dude. I mean, a couple years ago when we got hammered by the Ravens, I think it was Gibbs' rookie year. Goff just feeds him, and now they're giving him more snaps, more carries, more receptions. It is like you're stressed out, feed Jahmyr. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I'd say that's a pretty solid game plan. But again, I'm no expert, so I guess we'll find out.
Well, I guess that every time that we have these outside perspective episodes and we get the opinions of the opposing fans as far as the Steelers go, we have to ask for some predictions. And I know right now that the Lions are kind of fighting for their playoff hopes. And I was doing a little bit of research even before this. It's almost like that they have to win out the rest of the way. You've got the Steelers this week, and then you've got the Vikings, and then you've got the Bears to finish out the season. And it seems to be that if you don't win out, then the playoffs aren't happening this season. So in my mind, that's a pretty big deal if you're a Lions fan. The Steelers have been they're 8-6, sure, but they're not an exceptional 8-6. I think that, myself and David would agree that the Lions 8-6 is a whole lot better than the Steelers 8-6. But, when you get a team that's super desperate like the Lions right now, what does that say about Dan Campbell and the way he's going to get his guys prepared? So in that, give me your score prediction for this game. Kind of give me how you think the game will pan out.
Yeah, so obviously I'm biased, no surprise there. But I do have a lot more confidence. I mean, I hate losing, but coming off a loss, I mean, I think all of the country knows that Dan Campbell's not going to be a nice guy, happy guy in the locker room. He's getting them boys ready, So I mean, the whole Detroit grit thing, definitely like overused and everything, but it is a cool term and a cool kind of mindset. So I definitely am confident in their ability to go out here and ball. As for like a score prediction, our backs are against the wall, right? I mean, 100% our backs are against the wall. The NFC North is unbelievable. Like it's we have no more margin for error. We cannot lose, and it most likely will come down to week 18 against Chicago, and that we pounded them earlier this year, but obviously they're a powerhouse now too. So we're gonna have to figure that out. It is most likely going to come down to that. But to be honest with you, man, if we lose this week, yeah, I don't know what our playoff odds drop to, but I think I saw today they're at like 30-ish%, 37% now. Yeah, I mean the only path for playoffs is like winning out and then having some luck along the way. As for score prediction, I mean I think you're absolutely right what you said earlier. I don't think either team is going to score below 30, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't think I can have any, again, trust in my defense, our defense, right? If I had to make a prediction, I might be a little bit more realistic. Shoot, man, I'm gonna go Lions 31, Steelers 28. How's that? How's that?
That's
I
a
got
that's
to
a
be biased. We
well that
gotta win.
that's the whole thing. Your predictions are your predictions. We get on here a lot of weeks, and we look at it objectively, and we say, well, I don't think we can win this game. And personally, myself and David, we both predicted some losses this week. So I mean, it's 3 for 3 in terms of the Lions right now, and I think the Steelers are absolutely the team that has everything to prove here. Because, again, the Lions back against the wall, they're at home, they're in a controlled environment. Sure, Aaron Rodgers is on the other side, but again, this Lions team is a different cut of the 8-6 than the Steelers is. So, it makes a lot of sense, and there's absolutely no fault in you for making that prediction. And I think you're right around there as far as the score goes, because these defenses, they can get good at times, but they have some blips, especially the Steelers. And, right now the offenses are humming. So I don't think there's any reason to kind of go away from that.
And yeah, I mean, the whole Aaron Rodgers aspect in itself, dude, is quite frankly terrifying. I'd feel a lot more confident if you guys, had anybody else. Aaron Rodgers haunts me, right? So yeah, that definitely makes my fear factor go way up because I don't think he has a shred of fear playing at Ford Field. If anything, I think he has more confidence than maybe he's had all year. I mean, if you're in his shoes and you're saying I get to go back to Field where I owned the Detroit Lions for many, many years, he's probably fired up and ready to go. I hope it's way different. I hope you know how I want him to play. I don't want, don't want it to go well, but I think that's a huge thing, and I don't see him having a stinker of a game. I just, again, I'd like it, but I didn't see Stafford having a stinker of a game, and he absolutely did not. So that's kind of my thought process on that too.
Well, we appreciate this perspective, and this is exactly why we have these types of segments, to get an inside perspective on the team that we're about to play. And, especially as far as the Detroit Lions go, I have a soft spot for the Lions just because I'm a big believer in underdogs. I love seeing underdogs, and the Lions have been that team for the last couple of years. And even right now, with their backs against the wall, I'm still rooting for them. I still want them to, figure out something. Not necessarily this week because the Steelers are involved, but as far as the overall thing goes, always very supportive of the Detroit Lions and always very supportive of you. And again, I say that completely. I believe it with every fiber of my being that you're my favorite Detroit sports fan in the entire existence of the world. So, well, we appreciate you coming on, Ben, and this was very helpful for us, getting us a perspective on what the Lions are made of. And, this week is a big week for both teams. The Steelers need this one as far as staving off the Ravens, and the Lions need this one worse, it seems. So, we appreciate you coming on and giving us some perspective this week. So we appreciate you, Ben.
Absolutely, man. I'm fired up to get the chance to be on here, man. It's been fun. I love talking ball. I can talk for forever. But yeah, man, appreciate you for having me on. And I'm sure you and I will be talking a good amount this weekend. So looking forward to it, man.
We most definitely will. And another thing that is most definite as far as this podcast goes is the fact that it is sponsored by Zecca Enterprises, crafting furniture solutions in northwestern Pennsylvania. You can call 919-406-4679 to turn your furniture problems into furniture solutions. Again, a big thank you to Ben Ockerman for giving us an outside perspective on the Detroit Lions ahead of this Week 16 game. At Ford Field, Aaron Rodgers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, trying to go in and shock the world against the Detroit Lions, maybe for one final time in Aaron Rodgers' esteemed career, and we will have it all broken down for you this upcoming week on the Boardman Black and Gold podcast with Zane and David. I'm Zane, joined by Ben Ockerman. Thanks as always for listening, and we will see you after this Detroit Lions week.